Hello, welcome to Animal Audit Corner. Last week, William Gude and the rest of the SP advocates joined thousands of other protesters with the No King protesters. That protest also is in cities like Philadelphia and states like Illinois, Colorado, New York, Georgia, California. Then the No Kings, along with William Gude and the rest of the SP advocates, such as Jessica Palmadessa, Confident Chris Without a Hellcat, and Audit LA. Trump really knows how to stir up trouble when he is in office. And that's where suddenly the SPTV community and William Gude shifted just a little bit of their advocacy, a little bit, swinging the Scientology issues into the ICE issues, which stands for immigration, ICE issue, which is the immigration laws that Trump wrote. William Gude and the rest of the advocacy protesters demonstrated Trump's policy on immigration. Donald Trump only concentrates on illegal immigrants coming from Latin America and the Caribbean. He is mainly looking in the other direction, while other foreigners coming from other countries. He ignores all the other immigrants also illegally coming from Scientology. And they would also use foreign immigrants for slave labor by sneaking them into this country. There were thousands of protesters that were chanting around the cities where all the immigration, along with custom enforcement across Manhattan. Then there was a nationwide demonstration on Donald Trump's immigration deployment, which he had sent all illegal immigrants back to their country. There were a lot of voices in the community that no one can't be here without fearing that they would get sent back. Then on January 12th, 2025, hundreds of protesters that would include William Gude and the rest of the SPTV advocates would protest. While William and the SPTV community and the No Kings advocates were demonstrating Trump's policy, the Trumpist protesters were for the Trump policies that was protesting the ICE policies. And they sided with Trump on those issues when they didn't understand the other issues. Where all the Trumpists from the Trump cult, which is also a cult that the cult advocacy is headed towards, besides Scientology, when they were advocating along with the No Kings protesters. William Gude for years has been protesting the LAPD and wants to always hold them accountable, and started protesting the LAPD and all their wrongdoings. Then it would shift to another issue. Accidentally, one day when he ran into the test center for Scientology, when 3 of the Scientologies in that organization instigated problems, where a Scientologist named Sebastian, along with 2 other women, started a fight with him. When he was advocating and saw all the cameras around their property, he came up with the idea of filming them. He suddenly turned the tables on Scientology by documenting everything that was in their properties, especially the test center and the blue building, which other protesters are concentrating on. Some of them are from Scientology. Well, they're former Scientologists that used to be in the organization, but escaped and took off, leaving for good. They were advocating down there at the infamous blue building. One of them is Laura FM, who's an artist, a singer, musician, who escaped the organization, but the organization managed to disconnect her from her dad, Phil Anderson. Then William Gude would meet other advocates such as Jessica Palmadessa, who was protesting at that test center from the beginning, but loved William Gude's idea in documenting everything coming out of that test center. Then Chris without a Hellcat, Confident Chris, and eventually Audit LA also came into the fold and shifted her advocacy by lobbying for everybody in Scientology, which is great. But here's where everything ties into ICE and Trump's immigration law. Now, since he's only concentrating on the foreigners coming in from Latin America and the Caribbeans, he knows for the fact that Pat Bondi actually was wined and dined by Scientology. They got Nancy Cartwright, since she was wealthy, to wine and dine her so she could look the other way. And she went along with it. And then at the same time, she got on TV saying, if you're an illegal immigrant, expect to be deported. But however, since Scientology and David Miscavige managed to sneak in foreigners from other countries, get into immigrant here to the United States, they did. Scientology succeeded in getting Pam Bondi to look the other way. And of course, Trump knows that they are being sneaked into this country. Scientology, dating back since L. Ron Hubbard, was sneaking foreigners into this country. And they've been doing it since. And this is happening through David Miscavige as well. They sneak them in here as in this country as slave labor. And does Trump know that part? I don't know. I couldn't find information on that. But being devious with what Trump does the best, by pure manipulation, by being nice to only people that would serve only his needs, by using the wealthy people and celebrities as tools. And OSA is also knows to go along with David, what David Miscavige does. So, and they've been sneaking in foreigners for years. And some of those foreigners are young children that they would keep as slave labor. Yes, some of them are from in this country. But you know what? Trump is not following all the laws that he said that he was going to enforce. While he is aware that Scientology is sneaking foreigners in from other countries, because that's what they do. Then the No King protests, along with the advocacy group that William Gude formed by using cameras to turn the table on Scientology. He's the one that came up with the idea. But however, Aaron Smith led the SPTV community, while William Gude came up with the idea of filming everything around Scientology. And then William Gude thought it was a cool idea to film. And he started in on the protest, and more advocates started to come in. One of them, Farrah Cheryl, who's a funny character of her own, started to protest. Now, her story goes like this. Her father was a Scientologist. And actually, and she wasn't. Her and her mother was not Scientologists. He thought it would be in a way, so he just took off with Scientology, and that would be her story. He would say that she got in a way, which is really sad. And then a former police officer who was a woman is a retired police officer who's yeah, she is an elderly woman, but however, today's elderly is not like the elderlies from the 80s, 70s, or 60s. Because back in those days, if you were a grandmother, you looked the part. You don't look the part until here you look a certain age, like 80 or 90. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't know how old she is, but ugh, geez, I forgot her name, but however, she really kicked butt in one of her pictures. A young woman that looks like she was a black belt in karate, and she looked gorgeous in those days, but now she's retired and is protesting, so I say, you know what? Go for it. And it doesn't even matter how old you are. And then Aaron and the rest of the Clearwater crew, along with Soda Dusty Water Fountain, I know I'm saying it wrong, but however, and Erica, as you know, was arrested for merely protesting and exercising her First Amendment rights, while a young, hot shot police officer who looked like a rookie did whatever he wanted. And then another police officer came, and there's another story. She had everything on the camcorder that she had. And the young one did not neither one of those 2 were aware of it until the young little police officer, he looked to be about maybe 20, 25, 21, 25, between those ages. But however, he noticed the camera after the fact, but I think he knew he couldn't take it away from her because that was hers. I guess they must have confiscated while it was there because usually, I think by law, they had to turning everything they have and get it back at the end while they were at the police department. I don't know those rules, but it seems like it is. And of course, you know that Aaron Smith Levin is a Philadelphia native. He went from Philadelphia to Clearwater. He is so brave since those alligators are running around. Some of them look like they would jump out. And this is the funniest part. Some of them were walking down the street, right middle of the street. It was funny and hilarious. But all in all, that movement of filming was from William Gude. Okay, now shifting back to that other story I was talking about. Trump claimed he was enforcing the laws when he really wasn't. When Scientology was sneaking other foreigners from other countries. Now, I think it looks like that he was letting Pat Bondi look the other direction while immigration laws were being broken, which would make Trump a hypocrite when it came to laws. And he was aware of the fact that Scientology was sneaking these immigrants in. But is he doing anything? No, because it hasn't been mentioned at all. Then the No King, along with the SP advocates, captivating the world with their protests while Donald Trump is concentrating on illegal immigrants that are coming from Latin America and the Caribbean countries into this country, is still sticking around. Then nevertheless, William Gude and the advocates from the SP community protest against Scientology at the LA Test Center when it started, where ultimately would tie in to the ICE movement that Trump is making with laws that he has come up with. It looks like because no one ever heard of ICE until he came into the picture. When Trump's attorney general, Pat Bondi, is looking the other way while Scientology is sneaking foreigners in from other countries. Well, Trump is aware that Scientology is sneaking in foreigners from other countries. Pat Bondi was aware of it. That in conclusion, Trump is not following the laws that he is claiming that he's enforcing. And that would be the story of the whole movement when it started from the very beginning. It first started with Aaron Smith Levin that started the SP community. Then going into William Gude, who noticed cameras in and around Scientology's properties and came up with an idea of his own to film it, which was such a clever idea. So everyone joined in the fun, and then more channels came up. And now there is anywhere between 250 to 255. Now, I don't know where I come in, but Aaron Smith Levin saying it's 250, but no, it's a little more than that because I just came into the fold. And guess what? So far, everybody's having a pretty good time. Some of them are monetized too. And it is incredible how this whole movement started by Aaron Smith Levin. Then along came William. It is the movement no one can ever forget. Now, of course, I am also doing an animal rights platform since they're using those animals to intimidate their victims. So it originally started with the humans being exploited by Scientology. And they simply destroyed their pets because guess what? The former Scientologists loved them like they were their own children. And that's why Stacy, with one of the other stories that I discovered and wrote about, her character really was kind to animals and wanted to foster them. But then Scientology swoops in and destroys whatever animals she has by calling animal control and had them accuse her of animal abuse, which was not the case because she was taking care of them while she wanted to find homes for them to be adopted into. But then Scientology decided to come up with a dirty tactic of calling animal control, and then animal control euthanize them. They've been doing that for years, starting with L. Ron Hubbard. Now, I don't know what L. Ron Hubbard was like to animals, but I definitely know what they were like towards children. He was horrible, especially to his own kids. They never got the proper education. One of them ended up taking his own life in his own hands because guess what? Scientology is against the LGBTQ community. L. Ron Hubbard was homophobic. He never actually believed in mental health because guess what? He had a beef with psychiatry because he was laughed out of the room when he introduced the e-meter. They thought it was similar to a lie detector. Of course, he was laughed out of the room and wanted to get even with them ever since because that's what it looks like. But then their numbers started shrinking in the 90s, and until today, the number continues to shrink. Now, everybody in the SPTV kept count. Aaron and Natalie Webster, who was also a former Scientologist, as our regular viewers would actually know her. They think it was somewhere between 20,000 and 25,000. They think it's down to 20,000. And of course, Mark Headley says it was down to 10,000, which I hope it's the case because we want to see those people gone. But the Census Bureau said it was 25,000 in 2001. So maybe Aaron Smith Levin and Natalie Webster are right. It must be down to 20,000. And their numbers are fastly shrinking. And in my opinion, I think eventually they're going to go underground and continue to actually be an organization. Well, that should do it for today. Thank you for tuning in. Hit that like, press subscribe, and catch me on the wheel. See you later.